We have a number of folks here. So I'll keep admitting folks as we get started, but let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Lissa Polish, and I'm at the Minnesota Department of Commerce in our Energy Development Office. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon to talk about the Low and Moderate Income Accessible Community Solar Garden Program. This is really focused on applicants who are planning to apply to the program in February, on February 1st when we release. So we're going to walk through a whole bunch of different program details, but hopefully this will also be important and helpful context for others of you who are just trying to get your arms around what is this going to look like? How is it going to work? So John Michael, let's go ahead and just jump to the next one. So just in terms of quick logistics, some of you may have joined us before on one of these Teams webinars. The webinar is being recorded. You can see the little red dot probably on the top of your screens. If you have a question, we are going to try to save questions to the end, but you can absolutely feel free to put them in the chat as we go. Brian and I will be tracking those as we go throughout, and we'll tend to them in that Q&A part. If when we get to the Q&A, you'd like to actually come off mute and be able to ask a question, you can raise your hand and we'll be able to adjust the settings such that you can come off of mute and turn on your camera to ask your question. So just keep that in mind in terms of logistics. And John Michael, let's just go to the next one. We're going to start with a program overview, review sort of the key details. We will then talk about the sort of batch process and application windows and what we will be looking at in terms of project applications as part of our review process. And then we'll walk through some of the details about how folks will actually go about submitting an application and then have time for Q&A. And apologies that it looks like I might not be looking right at you, but I'm trying to manage all of you on one screen. And so there's a couple, I'm looking sideways. Okay. How about we jump into the next one? So as I said, I'm Lissa Polish, and I'm joined by my colleagues, John Michael Cross and Brian Livingston. As many of you know, the three of us have been working along with lots of other folks here at Commerce to get us ready for this time. Thanks to many of you who have been able to join some other webinars in November and December. And we're excited to have all of you who are here today. I will be kicking us off and then passing it to John Michael. And as I mentioned, Brian will be keeping notes as we go. Let's just hop right in. This is just as a very first starting point, program overview. And I'm going to cover just the very first slide of this, and then I'll pass it on to John Michael. Go ahead. So in terms of project eligibility, one of the biggest things that came up in the feedback sessions that we had at the close of 2023 was about the interconnection process. And many of you have been asking lots of questions about how is this going to work? And we've said per statute, as we understand it, Excel's role is to do the interconnection agreement. And then our role is to evaluate projects to see if they fit all of the requirements of being in the public interest to become a community solar garden. And we'll talk through that process, but as long as we are under the cap, we will then move those projects forward. And so to apply, you must have a signed interconnection agreement. We understand that there's still some discussion underway about that, and we're not going to get much into that today, but this is our current interpretation. This is what it says on the program website. We understand that that's still in the works. The other thing that has come up as a common question and that we have started to address in our frequently asked questions, we've been updating a frequently asked questions document on the website, is how far along can a project be to then apply to the new program? And as we have evaluated the statute and consulted with our legal counsel, we are interpreting that to be that projects that have achieved permission to operate or are otherwise already operational are not eligible to apply to the new LMI program. So that has been updated in that FAQ as well. So if you are an existing community solar project, You cannot apply to the new program as an existing project. Okay, I think those were the two really big ones that I was going to hit. And John Michael, I will now mute myself and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Lisa. Excited to be here with everybody today. As I said, we've been working hard to get this program ready and are looking forward to throwing the switch next week and see those applications come rolling in. So I'm going to go through today, cover some key program features, and then get into kind of what the application review process, what the actual submitting the application process is going to look like. First off for me is to quickly review some key features of the program. This is all things that are laid out in the statute. So at least 30% of each community solar gardens energy must be subscribed to by low and moderate income households. At least 55% of the energy must be subscribed to by LMI households, but then also affordable housing providers and public interest subscribers, which include public and tribal entities, schools, nonprofits, and houses of worship. More about that category in a second. This is different than the legacy program. The new program, subscribers are not required to be in the same or adjacent county as the project. Gardens can now be sized up to 5 megawatts in size. And there is a total annual capacity for the program. It's laid out by statute per year. For 2024, the program is capped at 100 megawatts of system capacity. Bill credit rates are also, again, laid out in statute. It's going to be calculated by customer class. You can see there, based on percentage of the average electric retail rates. That's going to be updated on an annual basis. We're going to move on for now. I'm going to be highlighting different key resources that we've put up on our program webpage over the past month. The first one I want to highlight here is the program definitions list. So for example, if you're curious about, well, what do we mean by schools? This document lays out that and all other public interest subscribers, as well as other things that are relevant to the program. If you have a question, this might be one of the first places to go. Take a look at the list of program definitions. We will be sharing the slide deck afterwards, and for all these key resources, I do put a link to PDFs up here. So those links should all work just fine when you get the slide deck. If it doesn't for whatever reason, or if you want to look at them right now, head on over to the program webpage, and those are posted. So for this program, as I said, 30% of the capacity of each garden must go to income-eligible LMI households. So Commerce is offering two ways for you to determine if a household is eligible. Number one, you can use the updated eco guidance for low-income households. So households can show eligibility by showing their participation in one of many other programs, including weatherization, Medicaid, federal housing assistance, and many more. That list is available on that link right there. The second option is for households to demonstrate that they are at 150% or below of area median income. So just today, we posted here an AMI lookup tool on the program's webpage. I'm going to go ahead and show. I forgot to add the PDF link to here. We just put it up. I'll get that fixed before we send the slides out. So this is a part of this lookup table. And so this is based on data from HUD. And first thing I want to note is that AMI levels change by both household size and by county, sometimes significantly so. This table does also reference 80% AMI levels. That's going to be a resource for other programs. For this program, we only need to look at the 150% row per county to determine the program's LMI threshold. One thing I want to note is that the AMI is the same throughout the 11 counties of the Twin Cities broader metro area. And then also note that these figures are going to be adjusted by HUD annually. There we go. And so we will notify participating garden operators for whenever we update the table. There will be some folks using 2023 table, some folks using the 2024 table. Just when we update the table, everyone will kind of just come and use the new table. Last bit on just general program features. Want to highlight the consumer protections that are part of this program. So they are listed here as written in the authorizing statutes. So nothing new here, but developers and their market representatives are prohibited from checking the credit score or credit history of any new or existing residential subscriber. You cannot charge a fee, an exit fee, to a residential subscriber. Cannot enroll a subscriber without their prior voluntary consent, engage in misleading or deceptive conduct, or make false or misleading representations. So what we have done is we've put some additional rules and details around these consumer protections in the subscriber organization code of conduct, which we will discuss in a bit. Okay, so next up, we're going to get into the application windows and what the review process is going to look like. So the first application window is going to open next Thursday, February 1st at 6 a.m. and close on Wednesday, the 21st at 4 p.m. Central. Even hesitant to put in the start time for the window, but just want to let you know there is one, but there's no click race. We are going to be reviewing applications from this window as a batch. Any applications submitted on the 21st are treated the same as any that are treated either submitted on the 21st or the same that are submitted on the 1st. So while we wouldn't advise you to wait till the last minute, there's no need to rush and get an application in on day one. The next window, kind of regardless of where our application reviews are, we are going to open up the batch 2 window on March 1st. And then that will close on March 21st. We're going to have monthly batches going that 1st to the 21st. So, and we're just going to repeat that. But we understand that applicants will want to know, well, how many applications did you get in round 1 before they're proceed with round 2. So what we've done is committed to, within 3 business days of the close of each application period, we will post on the webpage how many megawatts applied in that batch. That does not mean we have finished our completeness review, which I'll talk about in a second, but that is just the total amount of megawatts that we are currently reviewing. So that will just be a piece of information available to everyone. Again, we'll post that on the page. 3 business days after the 21st is Monday, the 26th. So the completeness review that every application will go through. It's going to include verification that all components identified in subdivision 5 of the authorizing statute are complete, and a verification that the proposed project meets all eligibility requirements as described in subdivision 6, subdivision 7C, and 10B. You don't have to go and dig those out. We have some places where we spell that out. I'll get to that in a minute. If the total, so we're going to review each application and determine which ones are complete, they meet the minimum requirements. If the total capacity of complete applications does not exceed 100 megawatts, then all those projects deemed complete will be approved to move forward as community solar gardens. If at the end of the completeness review, the total capacity for the program year exceeds 100 megawatts, then we will move to a second phase review for all the applications that are in that batch. So, for example, if in the February batch, we get 80 megawatts of applications that we deem complete, those projects will be approved to move forward to CSGs. Then in March, we have 20 megawatts remaining of our capacity. We receive 30 megawatts. That takes us over the 100 that are deemed complete. That takes us over the 100 megawatt allocation for the year, and that will trigger a secondary review on just the 30 megawatts from the March applications to determine who gets the remaining 20 megawatts of capacity. But just to spell this out, if we get 110 megawatts of complete applications in February, we will immediately move everyone to secondary review. So this second phase will be a more detailed evaluation of projects as the criteria laid out in subdivision 7B of the legislation. And so in order to help us do that, we have developed this prioritization scoring rubric, which is available on the program site, and you can see a portion of it here. So we have strived to make this scoring process as objective as possible. Scoring is going to be based on project plans that meet various benchmarks. It's not going to be graded based subjectively on how much we like certain answers of yours. And so today, we're not going to be going through a whole scoring process, the whole rubric. That's too much detail. Go please take a look yourselves. But I did want to just mention a couple things. So here you can see the first of 6 scoring categories, the pass-through of incentives. So the dark blue at the top, that's the total number of points available in this category, 5. And below that, in the light blue, those are the 3 kind of subcomponents of this category. So you can read through A to see that's what you can get up to 2 points for A. Actually, I think it's just either 2 or 0. B, 2, C, 1 point. Those 3 different pieces, that's how you can get up to 5 points for that category. So as I said, we're not going to dive into the scoring rubric in detail, but I did want to lay out here are the 6 categories, which are all closely tied to subdivision 7B, and the max points per category. So I know the 48 for category 2 probably jumps out, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. That score 48 is a hypothetical upper limit. This category is all about exceeding the minimum requirements for participation in delivered savings for quote unquote target subscribers. By that I mean the subscribers need to make up the 55% of the garden capacity. So that's LMI households, affordable housing providers, and public interest subscribers. So we have set up a scoring system that grants additional points at various intervals of percentage participation and guaranteed savings for each of these groups if you commit to those levels in your subscription plan as part of your application. So, for example, if your garden commits to providing 30% savings over subscription costs to LMI households instead of the required 10% savings, that's 5 points. If you then also commit to allocate 75% of your garden's capacity to LMI subscribers, that's another 5 points. So the rubric lays out how it works. That what I described, that would be worth 10 points, which is, again, not all that much compared to the 48, but to get to the 48 would require, say, 100% participation of LMI, no, it's not quite that, but it would say 100% savings of over the cost of subscription, basically making it free for participation for LMI, and then have that be the majority of your garden. So that's why we're calling it a theoretical upper limit, but we didn't set a bounds on these steps for scoring. So after we are done scoring each application, the highest scoring projects will be approved until all capacity is allocated. Again, this is only for when we have triggered secondary review because we have received more than 100 megawatts of complete applications for the year. Projects that are not initially approved will be held in queue in ranked order for the duration of the program year. An approved project is not able to move forward, then the next in line will be approved to move up. Projects that apply during the 2024 program year and are placed on the 2024 program year waitlist will be eligible for any capacity allocation that becomes available for the 2024 program year, even after the end of the calendar year. So a project, if a project is approved in 2024, backs out of the program sometime in 2025, we will be maintaining that wait list into 2025 and allow that application in as part of the 2024 program year. All right, so we are now, one, we're ahead of schedule, which is great. 2, we are at the process of submitting an application. So this is what you'll need to do in order, starting on the 1st, in order to get your application into us. So first of all, how to access the portal. So all applications must be submitted online using Commerce's submission portal. And there will be a link to that available on February 1st on Commerce's Request for Proposals webpage, which I've linked to here. So in order to access the portal, you are going to need to create an account. For those of you that participated in the NOI at the end of last year, it is the same portal, and your account will still be valid. I had gone through. I already did this. We ran kind of a test of the application, and I had gone through as a test for the NOI 2 months ago, and it remembered all my information that I entered in then, and I had forgotten my password, went through all that process, and it brought it back up. So again, if you've already gone through, it will remember your information, and you can just keep using that. If you didn't go through that process, and this is the first time using the Commerce's new Grant Vantage portal, you will need to set yourself up entering in some contact information for your organization, things like that. For the application process, there is only one account and one user that can be created per company or organization. And all submissions need to go through that one user account in person. Now, I know that can get a little tricky when you're trying to do multiple pieces, multiple people working on an application. I think certain things could get shared if you need to do it that way. But we also, again, because that's not first come, first serve, you have the 3 weeks. You can hopefully find ways you can coordinate that and make it work for your organization. We'll take a look in a little bit about what it actually looks like inside the portal, but you're going to go through a series of pages that ask questions. You can pause in the middle of filling out the application, come back a couple days later. You can upload documents at the beginning, come back. That is all going to be set up there, ready for you. One note I want to make is that the application must be submitted for each community solar garden, but that one account can submit applications for multiple projects, multiple gardens. All right, so another item we have up on the website is a application checklist, which I want to keep all the items for the checklist available on these slides, but it didn't look good in the PDF. So you can click to get to the PDF, or you can just kind of see it here. It covers just about everything that we're going to be asking for in the application. We have a couple of additional questions that we'll be asking, most of which are just entering some of the key information there from the required uploads. Let's see, to go through the items, as I've already mentioned, you will need to submit a signed interconnection agreement between the subscriber organization and Xcel Energy. You'll need a copy of any required non-material permits that have been approved by the local authority, a copy of the subscription contract paired with a completed subscriber information disclosure form, which we'll talk about in a second. You're also going to need to fill out the subscription plan detailed spreadsheets that explains the program design with respect to potential subscribers, as well as proof of legally binding site control for the location. For all of these in the portal, you will be required to upload the documents, but there will also be a field, an optional text field where you can, if there's anything you need to explain, you can kind of type it right in and submit it with the application. Continuing on with the checklist, this big long one with multiple sub-bullets, that all gets into the prioritization. You need to submit the information that we would be using for the prioritization scoring. It's all the same as laid out in the prioritization scoring rubric, so I'm not going to go through it here, but this does lay it out again. That comes from subdivision 7B of the statute. And then the last thing we'll ask everyone to complete and upload is a signed copy of the subscriber organization attestation and acknowledgement. We'll look at that one in a second as well. So, now I'm going to highlight the 3 forms that you'll need to download from Commerce, complete, and then upload as part of your application. The first is the disclosure form cover sheets, which I'm showing a small portion of here, but it's a multi-page document when you finally open it up. The disclosure form I want to add is not just for the application. Garden owners or subscriber organizations and the representatives must fill out the disclosure form and provide it as a cover sheet to any contract that they're going to offer to a potential subscriber. So these disclosure forms are going to act as a guide to help consumers understand their contract, as well as provide some standard information to all potential subscribers, such as a way to get in contact with Commerce in the event of a dispute that can't be handled between the customer and the subscriber organization. You will need to keep copies on file for all of your subscribers of the disclosure form. We will ask to review some, if not all, the forms at some point as part of our due diligence. There's also going to be two versions of the form. There's going to be a standard version that will be blank. You will need to fill out and present to potential subscribers. We have a basic PDF of this posted on our website right now, but we're working on a fillable version, and we'll have that available soon. There's also going to be an application version, which is also not available yet, but will be soon. This is going to list a theoretical LMI customer. You're going to be given their annual electricity consumption, and then we're going to need you to fill out the disclosure form as if you were trying to sign up this person. You will then attach the completed form to your application along with the contract that it would be the cover sheet to if this was an actual sale, actual subscription you were trying to sign up. We're doing this because it's going to help us better understand the contract that you'll be offering to LMI households and how you will present it to the customers. Do your best with the form. We're not going to toss out applications that make a good faith effort to fill it out, but we will reserve the right to require modifications to how you fill out the form on a going forward basis. Next up for required application forms is the subscription plan spreadsheet. We have not yet posted the final version of this, but it will look a lot like this one right here, which is the draft from the draft version we have up right now. Though I have some of the rows cut off, sorry. The final version is going to be a fillable PDF in which you will need to fill out the cells to tell us how you plan to fill out your community solar garden across various customer classes and the subscription rates, fees, and rate adjustments you will charge to each customer class. I want to stress that these need to be commitments and not aspirational goals. We're going to be using this form to confirm that you're meeting the minimums as required by law for subscriber cost-saving ratios and capacity allocations, but we're also going to use it to allocate points in the prioritization process. So we need what you're listing out are the commitments. We need to be able to score that what you're going to do, not what would you think it would be nice to do. That makes sense. We're working to get final versions up as quickly as possible, and it will be available in two places, as will all the other forms that you need to download from us, complete, and upload. So the CSG program page, but then they'll also be inside the application portal itself. When you're in the Grant Vantage portal, as you're going through the application, each question will be its own page and with the instructions for that question. And so what we're going to be doing is, if the question is upload your subscription plan spreadsheet, that question will also include the link to the document that you'll need to fill out. And they'll be the same in both places. So the third form that we're going to ask everyone to fill out, this is the attestation for subscriber organizations. Not a lot to fill out here. It is just that you review the terms to the program, initial each of the sections, and then sign it with your contact information. In the same PDF is the subscriber organization code of conduct. So there's nothing to complete here. This is just for subscriber organizations to review and commit to what is laid out. Here's part of the program. One of the main things you're doing in the attestation is committing to follow the code of conduct. Mentioned I would show what it looks like inside the portal. And I have my fun little laser pointer here. So when you open it up, I mean, this is one of the later questions in the, so this will not be the first question you see, but it will look like this. It's the standard way. The default view is very scrunched, and I found not super pleasant to use. So I'm going to highlight this little button over here. When you click that, it expands everything. So then we go to the next slide. It looks like this for each question. Well, not all questions have this full text box, but it'll fill up the screen. It'll be a lot easier to use. That's just a tip when you're going through this process. Other things to highlight, this right here keeps track of all the documents you've uploaded as part of the portal. You don't just upload a document to a question, you kind of upload to your profile, and then for a specific question, you say, okay, please pull in this document. But if you need, all your saved uploads will be found right here. Another piece up here at the top, it does automatically save, but you can click save. It automatically saves when you go to the next question, but you can save it at any time here. Again, you can leave it for later. You can use the finish later. You can also just exit out after it's saved. The application report button I found very useful. Because you're doing this application kind of on a page by page basis for each question, hitting application report will spit out a PDF that shows all the questions and what you've said for them so far. So especially if you need to share that internally while you're working on the application, that's an easy way to do that. Then right here, view all questions. That we hit that menu, it'll pull up all of the questions broken down by sections, and it will be color coded for which ones have been answered, which ones haven't answered. So if you want to jump around, that is a good way to do that. Other thing, there will be places where we require you to type out a text answer, and I thought this was neat from having to do a lot of format lists, text boxes in previous jobs. This one has your full Microsoft. You want to bold things. You want to change. New bullets. You're welcome to do that here in this portal. So help desk. So there's two different places depending what kind of question you have, that we want to point you to. If you have questions or technical issues with the submission portal or your portal connected accounts, you can't get in, forget password is not working, whatever that might be, we're going to ask you to contact the Grant Vantage support desk at their email. If you come and ask us, like, you can't get into your account, we're not going to know how to help you. We're going to point you to these folks. So just cut out that step and go straight to them. But if you do have something that is more for commerce staff, those are the two emails here. Energy contracts, that's I think a longstanding email. Community solar at state.mn.us. That's a brand new email that we've set up to be the program's webpage. I will be checking that account frequently. It's also the email that we list on public-facing documents that if a member of the public needs to talk to Commerce about the program, that's where we'll be directing them to. All right, so that is just about all the information that I had to cover. We're going to move to questions now. I will just to start the Q&A, though. Liz already mentioned our FAQ, so I'm going to highlight that here. As we've received questions over the last couple of weeks, we have been posting a PDF on the program webpage. It's linked to here. I believe that URL, though, is based on this current version 2. So as we get version 3 up, that PDF, that link might not go to the newest version. It would just stay here with version 2. So please do check the program page for the latest version of the FAQ. And again, if there are things that we're not able to answer today, we'll be, or even some that we do, we'll be updating this with additional information. But with that, I think we'll turn over to Q&A, and I think, Lisa, you're going to facilitate that.
Yeah. So thank you, John Michael. Lots of good detail, and thanks to all of you for all of the good questions that are coming in. So going back to earlier when you were talking about updating the HUD table, there was a question that did come in From Beckett about, it reads, if a low-income subscriber is subscribed and allocated to a garden in, say, 2024, but the table of AMI data is updated in a later year, say 2025, and the subscriber that previously qualified is no longer eligible, are they, quote, grandfathered in as eligible since they were eligible at the time of their subscription? In brief, Beckett, yes. That sort of verification step happens at the outset, right? So you do that check of subscribers at the beginning. You wouldn't need to go back and check again. That's a standard process, I believe. John, Michael, or Brian, anything you want to add about that? Okay. I'm gonna try to get them in the order that they were asked. We'll see, because there's some over here in the chat, some in the Q&A. We'll go back and forth. Okay. So the next one was from Kaylee. Hello, in the program definition, there is a definition for backup subscribers. What kind of role does a backup subscriber play in community solar? John Michael, I don't know if you want me to take that or if you want to take that. Go. Okay. Hold on, let me try to admit a few other people. Sorry. Okay. The role of a backup subscriber is typically that, say you had a number of subscribers, residential households, and maybe we can take the question, maybe we can take the screen down if that's all right. Say you had subscribers and the subscriber exited the program. Rather than having the unsubscribed energy be unsubscribed, it can go to what is termed a backup subscriber. That entity can essentially absorb that subscription for a period of time until the garden operator has found a new subscriber to take on that role. So they're playing sort of a temporary role as a subscriber of that energy. Okay. Couple of other questions, and then I'm going to flag that Jackson Cade had one in the Q&A. And Jackson, somehow it deleted your first one, but I believe your first question, sorry, going back to that. Oh, it's exciting over here. Was about once the 100 megawatt is reached, will the Department of Commerce continue to accept applications, i.e. open the application batch window on the first of the following month to continue developing a wait list? That's a good question. What we had talked about in our conversations leading in to this process was that it seems likely that if, for example, we hit the cap in June, that we might not be able to have gone through the entire process of evaluating that stage 2 evaluation by the time the next round would open on July 1st. So we would probably still have the next month's time period open, but after that, we would not continue to keep taking applications to build out a wait list. John Michael or Brian, is there any more that you would want to add to that?
I think one thing we were still discussing is that depending on the size of the wait list, we may decide to open it up for another month to collect additional, right? A wait list of 2 megawatts is very different than a wait list of 75 megawatts.
Very good. Okay. Coming back over to some questions from the chat. Are the materials confidential or can they be redacted? Melly, if you might follow up, I'm not quite sure which materials you were talking about because I didn't track when they were, or Brian, did you track what was on the screen when Melly asked that? Melly, are you there? If so, could you raise your, oh, okay, heart, sorry. Oh, the subscriber agreements. John Michael, go ahead. I see you nodding.
So Well, I guess, wait, I was thinking this, the disclosure forms, but that came up later. But maybe if they got mentioned beforehand, I would say that, oh, did you?
Yeah, hold on. Oh, I wasn't trying to raise my hand. I was trying to find Nellie. Hold on. I cannot find you. There. All right, hold on. I'm coming to you. I'm going to make you a presenter and you should be able to come off of mute.
Hi, thank you. Sorry.
Sorry. Technical difficulties as in user error. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about, the kind of terms and conditions in our in the subscriber agreements themselves, or proof of site control, sort of any things that are proprietary to our business. I just don't know what how public this information is, and whether or not we're allowed to redact things that we don't want, that are commercially proprietary to ourselves.
Uh-huh. That's a great question. Rather than us answering what the three of us think, let us check in with our general counsel and respond to that in the FAQ. But thank you for flagging it. And I certainly understand why you're flagging it. Let's come back and get a written response on that.
Great, thank you.
You bet. And I suspect I'm going to say that again for some of these other questions. Okay, so if a project is waitlisted in 2024, can the same project apply for 2025 capacity while still holding its 2024 waitlist position? Yes. Okay. If an application is deemed, I'm sorry, I missed some. If an application is deemed incomplete, what happens?
If it is a small issue, we reserve the right to get in touch and be like, can we get this addressed? If it is a larger issue with something not being complete, like it was not meeting the minimum requirements of the program, if you're missing big chunks of what we were asking for, then what we will do is return the application to you, and you can come back the next application window.
Okay. Sorry, I missed a couple. I apologize. Eric was asking, do subscribers self-attest to their 150% AMI status, or how will this be verified by the Department of Commerce? Eric, good question. We are working diligently to get this finalized so that it will be ready by February 1st. We're still clarifying that process because we need it to sync up with other programs across the department. And the 150% is a newer limit that's being used across programs. So we'll have to come back to that in FAQ. Tomas, in a household with LMI, do we need to just list the household member that has the electric bill in their name, or do we need to provide information about all household members? I think that is similar to the previous question in that AMI is based on household, not individual. But it's possible I'm missing a nuance in what you're describing. So maybe we should come back to that. Or John, Michael, or Brian, are you reading something else in that question? Or Tomas, do you want to come off of mute and say something more about what you're asking?
It says in the chat and or regarding disclosure forms. Thank you.
Good question. I think it would be the name of the person on the bill. Good question. Thanks for the clarity. Okay. From Ross, on the subscription plan form, it seems that some of these columns, e.g. capacity minimums, should be fixed, as in a commitment like 40% or 50%, not aspirational, while others, the actual number of subscribers, can only be an estimate and should not be fixed for all time. That's helpful feedback. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll go
Skip
back
the
into
next two and then the third question down.
It takes a village, Brian. Are there any timelines we should expect for responses from applicant support, thinking if there are access issues during the submission window? John Michael, do you have an answer for that one?
So from Grant Vantage, they, in their instructions, which we will be posted along with the RFP announcement on the 1st, their instructions say, contact us with at least 2 hours to go in the window. If it were me, that's a pretty short turnaround to get that fixed, and I would probably want to do more than that. But they are stating, the contractor stating a pretty quick turnaround of resolving issues.
Thanks. Okay, next up is Puya's question about, in the latest tariff submission, Excel proposes not to pay bill credits until mid-2024. This seems like it would delay the program for developers that are ready to operate in the spring. Noted, Puya, thank you for raising that. Yasu, how would one qualify locations such as affordable housing or IDD facilities? I'm not sure I know what IDD stands for. That house individuals that are low income, but the utility account is managed by a not-for-profit. So, John Michael, I wonder if some of this falls under some of that sort of public interest definition, and if we want to just talk about that a little bit more. Sorry.
Sure. I mean, the definitions, I'm sure, do not go into some of the nuance that some of the applicants are thinking of. In the program definition sheets that's available, affordable housing provider is defined as a building owner where a minimum of 66% of units are occupied by low-income households. And the question might be, how do subscription organizations identify what those buildings are? I don't have a good answer for that at the moment. In the definition of public interest subscribers, nonprofits are defined as entities with 501c3 status.
Okay, so it sounds like we might come back to that with a little bit more nuance. I'm sorry, I'm also noticing Jackson was diligently using the Q&A, and so let's come back over here to grab a couple of these others. Jackson asks, just to clarify, there is only a requirement for the one subscriber information disclosure form, the example LMI form, to be submitted with the garden application.
Yes, we are not going to ask for you to do sample disclosure forms for, what is it, 6, 7 customer classes. We are operating on the assumption that the most protections will be in the LMI category. There are certain parts of the statute that only apply to LMI households. So we are asking you to fill out the disclosure form based on a theoretical LMI individual.
Jackson also flags in the subscription plan spreadsheet or table that has a subscription escalator. Is there a way to change this to include a % discount off the bill credit rate? Yes, Jackson, there surely is, and that's part of why it's not final yet. So we have certainly flagged that internally that we need to do an adjustment. Okay, I'm going to just hit all of Jackson's in the Q&A because I'm over here. Once the 100 megawatt cap is reached, will the Department of Commerce continue to accept? Oh, we got that one. Okay. Will self-attestation, we've already flagged that we'll have to come back to you on that. And how can a potential applicant submit questions to be answered on the FAQ document? I believe that, John Michael, you flagged that at the end that either the energy contracts or the CSG email can be used to flag questions that you want us to respond to. Maybe we could put those back in the chat again and we'll follow up as well afterward. Do you want to add any more?
Yeah, just on the program webpage, right below the FAQ, it says to submit additional questions, email communitysolar@state.mm. But yes, we're going to be working on a big version of this based on questions here today, but please submit additional ones to that email.
Okay. Tyler asked, question 15 on the FAQ has to do with co-location. Can you clarify which laws and regulations you are using to screen applications? Tyler, we are deferring to the interconnection application process and those requirements, though I understand that there are also tax laws surrounding co-location. Okay. Oh, okay. And I'm seeing Ben, the redacted question that you flagged was around proof of site control. So understanding that, yes, folks are curious about what will be able to be redacted and what is public and private. Okay. I don't think I missed anything. I think I did, Jackson, I think I got to all of your questions. Will you flag me or raise your hand if I did not? There, wonderful, look at that. I didn't see it, but it was there. Okay. Thanks. Any further questions from folks? I appreciate folks flagging, particular questions and details that we have to think about. And I know that you want all of them answered right now. We will answer them as soon as we possibly can. Oh, I did miss one. I'm sorry. From Sarah. Given that legacy applications were submitted when the Excel portal was open in the past, and considering the non-legacy application portal is not yet open in the Excel portal, can you please clarify if the 100 megawatt capacity limit is intended to apply exclusively to non-legacy applications for the upcoming submission window? Good question. Because people have to have a completed interconnection agreement, that part has been in process, and I don't know that anybody who would be applying right now for a new interconnection agreement would have a signed interconnection agreement by February 1st. And so, yes, that is still the case. Did I misunderstand that, John Michael or Brian? Or Sarah, did I misunderstand your question? Got it. Okay, good. And Ross, thanks for your follow-up. Okay. In regards to backup subscribers, is it accurate to say they're only temporary placeholders? Yes. Are there benefits for being a backup subscriber? I guess I would say that that's probably in the eye of the beholder. But I think often that's about being able to support other folks participating and knowing that that's an option. Thank you, Puya, for also answering. I think that that's the intent, is to allow for some flexibility. Okay. Other questions from folks? Eric, good question. I mean, we're in active discussions with Excel. We understand that there's some things that have come in just today into the docket. We are working much as we can to get that process open and going. Jackson, we will be required to supply all variations of a community solar garden subscription contract if they vary by customer class, residential versus commercial. Yes, that is true. And yes, also correct that just the one disclosure form. John Michael, anything else you wanted to add on that? Okay. Ah, okay. Kyle, there's a website, the Community Solar Garden website, and there's the energy specific funding opportunities list. That is the list where information has been sent, and anyone who's attended this or any previous stakeholder engagement session is added to our list for notification. So you are here, you will get all future notifications, but I would say continue to watch our website for programmatic updates. And yes, there will be slides will be sent out as a follow-up so that people will have all of the content. And if you have any questions after that, you can always email us and let us know.
One more question in the Q&A. Tomas asks, for subscriptions, if a bill changes under whose name it is between 2024 and 2025, but the household remains, do we need to redo disclosure forms, or is other paperwork updates required? I live with my brother and is in my name in 2024. If I move and is under 2025 in his name because he stays there, what needs to be done?
That's a great question. Let us dig into that where we have a little bit more time to work through the various pieces of that, because I think that there's an element for us, but then there was also an element for the subscription itself with Excel. So let's come back to that. Oh, and Tomas had another one that somehow I missed. Are there expectations for the interconnection process with Excel for this program compared with past program wait times? Are these apps processed distinctly? For the first part of that question, that's really an Excel question, not an us question. Are these apps processed distinctly? I think that that is part of the ongoing conversation about interconnection and getting your interconnection application. So I suspect more to be discussed about that. Okay. We are at time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of the questions that folks have posed. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your ongoing engagement with us. Your questions help. Your observations help. We're doing our best to get this ready to roll so that we can start taking applications as of February 1st. Thanks so much. Appreciate all of you. Have a great afternoon.